This Saturday marks 14 years since I got the knock on the door that changed everything. My name is Tami Imlay. I'm an executive leadership strategist and advisor, and this is a Leader's Purpose podcast. This show exists for one reason. You're sitting in a seat where decisions you make are visible, impactful, and felt by everyone around you. You carry the weight of the organization. And most of what you've been handed about leadership isn't wrong, it's just backwards. I spent years studying what drives performance at the highest levels. And every week, I will bring you what I've learned, the patterns, the reframes, and the things that no one's saying out loud. So you can stop managing your leadership and start trusting it. You already have what it takes. And this is where you get to remember that. So let's do this. So I started 14 years. I started this episode. And I don't say that for sympathy. The anniversary, the knock, all of it. I say it because what I've learned in the years after the knock is the same things that I've watched every senior leader I work with navigate, usually alone, usually without language for it, and usually while performing like everything's fine. And every time I think this, I think of Ross in that scene of like, it's fine, everything's fine. And because the thing is, leadership has a grief component that no one talks about. And this might be one of the most important conversations we have on this podcast. So it could look like a variety of things. They could look like different feelings, different experiences, but let me name a few that I've seen often, and maybe you could relate to them. So one is the relationship shifted. Friends who pull away when you got promoted, or just how, coworkers who were peers are now direct reports are on your team instead of on the team with you. And you still have a good relationship, but things have changed. Conversations that used to feel light. They have a different altitude now because of the gravity of your decisions, and you still love all your people. It's just different now. And then what about the version of yourself you left behind? The one who used to be more available, more relaxed, have more time, laughed more easily. You didn't carry the room the way you have to carry it now. Your decisions didn't have the same weight as they do now. And you don't know exactly when that version of you left, but it did. And what about even this one's a big one. Life looks different than you pictured. Not worse, different. The quiet weight of not knowing if you're even allowed to grieve something that you chose, something that you wanted, something that you fought for, something that you worked towards. You wanted it, you earned it. So you don't call it grief, but it is. And here's what's happening when you don't name it. You perform past it, you lead around it, and it runs your leadership from underneath, quiet, unexamined, and more expensive than anything on your P&L. And today I want to talk about what grief actually does when you stop performing past it. These are just some of the things that I've learned over the last 14 years and some of the things that I've seen, the trends that I've seen, and these patterns that I've seen. It's, and so the first one is that every level of leadership requires you to leave a version of yourself behind. It's not a weakness. That's an operating system upgrading. But if you don't grieve what you're leaving, you keep trying to lead from it. If you don't acknowledge it, if you don't honor it, like this is the crazy thing is that we think that because it's a good thing, we should automatically just be accepting. You're allowed to grieve things that are changes. Grief is loss. And sometimes it's a person, yes. And that's kind of what my anchor was. But I've realized through studying grief and through watching others grieve that grief is a loss on many levels. And so what could it look like as a leader if working, you didn't grieve the version of yourself is that you try to hold on to old habits. You try to hold on to old hobbies. You try to hold on to old versions of yourself because it's comfortable or because you know what it is. But and here's what grief does when you actually let it move through you. When everything is stripped away, you stop spending energy on things that felt urgent but weren't essential. That's not a grief skill. That's an important executive skill. And that's the most important executive skill there is. And what it looks like in high stakes moments is you can make the decision for the company that may make someone upset in the moment, but you know it's for their your best interest and the mission's best interest. And so you have to strip away the things that you and stop spending energy on things that felt urgent or used to be urgent, but you have a different purview now. You have a different view now. And when you're able to strip away things, and there's nothing that strips away things quite like grief, which I'll talk about here in a few moments. But still, this is what an executive skill that we get to hone. But clarity about what matters externally is only half of it. You cannot lead people through something you haven't examined yourself. The leaders who know what they're protecting lead differently the ones who don't. And let me say that again. So the leaders who know what they're protecting lead differently than the ones that don't. So many times we're on autopilot. We just go with what's comfortable. We go in our reaction mode and we know what people are going to say back to us. So we're ready with our response. But the thing is that everyone has something that we're protecting. And when you understand it, you get to use it. When you understand what you're protecting, then you get to rise above it and realize that you don't need the protection that you needed. You have the authority, you have the responsibility, you have the leadership, you have the skills. So you get to own that. And here's the part that most leaders never get to: the fact that we're all protecting something, but grief shows you what it is. It gives you highlights, it gives you insight, it gives you that little nugget of truth that if you didn't go through it and you didn't experience and you didn't acknowledge your grief or what your loss and shift is, then you wouldn't have seen it. Because once you see it, you really see it, then you get to choose whether you still need that protection or not, or whether you're strong enough to set it down. And this is one of the things that I learned is because we during the grief moments or when you are stepping into that new role, that new position, we start adding armor to ourselves because we don't know what we're up against. So we just add the protections on, we strengthen it. It's like we're getting ready to go into battle, but really there's no battle in front of us. It's just those expectations, those assumptions, the responsibility or that leadership we think we need to take with us. And so we're all protecting something, but once you see what you're protecting, and some of the things, it could be your reputation, it could be your credibility, it could be you don't want to fail. And you definitely don't want to fail in front of your peers. So we're all protecting these things or from different elements. But once you see it, then you have the power to choose whether you still need that protection or if you're strong enough to set it down. And there's another thing that grief does that no leadership training will ever tell you about. It's most of your decisions are not life or death. Grief recalibrates that. When you've lived through actual life and death, or you've made decisions where stakes were real in that way, the weight you've been assigning to ordinary decisions shifts permanently. When recalibrated decision making looks steady, when you understand what you're protecting, you understand what your lens you're leading through, when you understand who you need to be and who you get to be and who you are, because all of that is the same person. At, at the level that you're leading in, you get to settle in that. And decisions that may have seemed really important in your last role, we go back to this, you have a different purview, you have a different perspective, you have different information, and you can see what is really important and what's not. And I use the life and death decision, that gravity, because so many times we put so much importance on things that are temporary. Well, the higher you go up in your role, the more things are long term. The temporary decisions are made at lower levels, and those seem so urgent in the time. And when you grief recalibrates this, when you start to look at what the new position is, when you start to look at what's important, because it is, as you're shifting, you're looking at what's important in your life now. So, and that recalibration leads to one of the most important choices a leader can make. You have to choose to live. You have to choose to lead. Both can be hard, but they're your hard to choose. I'm sure I've heard that, like, this being healthy is hard, but being overweight is hard. Um, Exercising is hard, and not exercising is hard. Saving money is hard, but also being broke is hard. Like, you've heard those contrasts. Well, there's nothing like grief that taught me the importance of choosing your hard. You can see, and we all have examples of people who we see that they've taken the wrong road with the hard, and they go to the woe is me, or they go to blaming, or they go to the part that their circumstance or their situation defines them, instead of allowing it to um, guide them, or you don't learn through it, and or it becomes who you are. So the grief taught me that it's the same choice every senior leader makes, consciously or not, every single day. You get to decide: are you going to perform? Are you going to try to meet these unwritten and unspoken expectations? Or are you going to step into knowing who you need to be in this moment, who you need to be in this role, and what you want to lead through in this role, and do it and own it? The decision is yours. And I know this because I didn't learn this from a book. I didn't learn this from a training. I didn't build my diagnostic world from a framework that someone handed me. I built these diagnostics. I built these frameworks. I built this understanding from the most examined season of my life. A season where I had no choice but to look at everything that was running underneath, what I was protecting, what I was performing, what I was holding on to that no longer served me the life I actually wanted to live. And that's exactly what I do with leaders I work with every day. Not grief work, but the same territory, this invisible layer, the same questions underneath everything. What are we protecting? Is it still serving the leader you're becoming? Is it still serving you? Because if you're a senior leader and there's something in this episode that landed, maybe not the grief part, but maybe the grief part, because a lot of times we think to have it all together, we don't slow down enough to look, to examine, to reflect. But if the recognition part, I want you to sit with this one question this week. What have you given up to get where you are that you've never allowed yourself to grieve? Not to dwell in it, not to go backwards, to name it, because you cannot examine what you haven't named. You cannot upgrade a system that you can't see. And that's the work. And if you're ready to start it, the link for the line leadership audit is in the show notes. Because let's find out what's running your system. But before you go, if something landed and you just want an easy step to take, I put together a private 6-episode audio series called The Invisible Weight: Why Leadership Feels Harder Than It Should. It's not a course, it's a private conversation, the kind that helps you understand exactly what's running your leadership right now and what to do about it. The leaders who have gone through it don't describe it as something they listened to, they describe it as something they felt. The link is in the show notes. Go there first. And if this episode gave you something worth keeping, subscribe so you don't miss what's next. And if you're willing, leave me a rating and review. This just takes 2 minutes, and it puts this conversation in front of leaders who need it most. With that, friend, choose joy until joy chooses you. It is okay to work towards something, to have something, and still grieve what was, or still grieve what you thought it was going to be. With that, friend, choose joy until joy chooses you, and I will see you next week. Bye for now.